George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League.
Man, my head seems to get bigger and bigger every time this thing clicks on. It is Sweep the League. It is episode 3. Number 3, numero tres. It is Wednesday. It is a Valentine's edition of Sweep the League. We're halfway to the end of the week, guys. You put up with us for 2 shows already. Be sure to put up with us for the entirety of our new podcast career, our new podcast endeavor here at the Alamo City Podcast Network. I am Rudy Campos Jr. This is Sweep the League. Of course, I got to bring in the man, the myth, the legend, and surprisingly wearing a Rams jersey. For what reason? They didn't do shit this year, Gio.
Well, we did more than your team. That's all I'm going to say about that.
That's easy for you to say right there, man. That's so easy for you to say.
Hey, we did make the playoffs after you wrote us off. So
I did not write you off. I just said
in honor of the season basically ending, I'm going to wear my Rams jersey. I'll put it away until the summertime, but I'm wearing it just for you, Rudy.
Is that Aaron Donald?
Yes, sir.
It is. He's not going to be with the Rams next year. He's going to be gone.
Let me guess. He's going with the Falcons?
Yeah. No. Hell no. He's not going with the Falcons.
Hey, by the way, before we get started.
No. I got to say something before you come on me. It never fails. Tim Gonzalez, number 1, always in there. I get shit. Again, the Tar Heels lost last night. Ever since Armando Bacot said the road goes through Chapel Hill, it must be under construction or something because they can't win a damn game. Losing to Syracuse now. I'm getting so sick and tired of this. So sick and tired. But I give props for Tim Gonzalez. Hey, they did lose. But we are 1-0 against your Blue Devils, Gio, and Tim Gonzalez's Blue Devils. So definitely. What's up, Frank Valdez? Thanks for joining in, man. Appreciate you. JC's in here. Tim Gonzalez always in here. Armando Bacot to the Spurs. No, there's a lot better big guys out there. I would rather take an Armando Bacot, and I'm a Tar Heel fan. And sadly, it's not fun to be a Tar Heel fan, nor a Falcon fan. What the hell did you want to tell me, Gio?
Apparently, Arthur Blank wasn't at the press conference for the introduction of a new coach. What's up with that, Rudy?
Was it on a Sunday? Because if it was on a Sunday, just like Chick-fil-A, it's closed in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So I have no idea. Hey, man, it's the offseason. Who gives a
Rudy?
Who gives a rat's ass if the owners are?
Your head coach gets introduced, and the owner is not even there. It's just not a good look.
It doesn't matter. I don't care. Does the owner of your company there when you bring in a new employee or something? It doesn't make it doesn't matter.
This is completely different.
Why
this
are you
is completely different?
Why are you dogging on my Falcons, man? Give me a break. We're coming off 7 years of 28-3.
Raheem Morris, former Rams defensive coordinator, gets hired. It's his moment, and the owner is not even bothered to show up. It's just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But hey, that's a typical move by your franchise. Not surprised.
Wow, cheap shot, low blow. Low effing blow, dude. Get the hell out of here with that. This is Sweep the League. This is Coach Gio, the Ram Ambassador himself, Rudy Campos Jr. Hey, go smash that subscribe button on YouTube. All you got to do is go search Alamo City Podcast Network. Hit that subscribe button. If you're in San Antonio, we've been saying it, we got to get to 1,000 followers. We're at 671 last I checked. So 1,000 followers, we're going to pick a name out from a subscriber. And if you're in San Antonio, you're going to get a free meal. To where, Gio?
To Burger King.
Dude, I should slap you if you were here. Burger Boy. You guys are not eating the cheap shit that is Burger King. We give you Burger Boy meals here on Sweep the League. You got to be a subscriber to win. If you're not in San Antonio, that's fine. We're going to get you a gift card to Liz or something like that. Someone's going to win something. Somebody's going to win something, just like the NBA offseason. We're going to talk NBA offseason. LeBron rumors are coming up, bro. As you had heard, the Warriors made a case for LeBron. Daryl Morey was making a case for LeBron as well. Not only that, he was asking the Phoenix Suns if they would like to part ways with a Bradley Beal or a Kevin Durant. We're going to get into some of the offseason talk. Our Spurs Cheeseman is around Wemby. It's around Wemby. And surprisingly, because he's the only player that's worth a damn right now on the team, he basically told the front office that, hey, I want help and I want veteran help. So needless to say, we're going to get into Spurs Cheeseman when it comes to that. And, there's something about the Cheeseman, too, that we're going to bring up. The Trae Young to San Antonio stuff is it's getting a lot of traction. So with all the assets the Spurs have, I'm going to mention another guy and see if maybe this could be another piece, because I saw on Twitter one of the I can't remember, it's 210 something. I got to get the Twitter. I'm very sorry for that, but they mentioned, hey, who would be that fourth and final piece in the offseason you'd get? I have the perfect person, Gio. That's in the Spurs Cheeseman. We're going to talk with Ben Bornstein, Sweep the League, senior NCAA analyst and NBA draft guru for Project Spurs. He's going to talk to us at 3 o'clock about the new changes for the NCAA tournament and everything else coming up like that. Quarterback rankings, Gio's happy because Matthew Stafford was number 5 in these rankings, but it's an absurd list. It's an absurd ranking.
What? Listen,
no.
How is he not? I mean, the guy's everyone on that list who's won a Super Bowl. Please tell me.
Just wait for the list to come.
No.
Just wait for the list to come.
You look at the list. How many of those players have won an actual Super Bowl?
Just wait.
It's going to be very few. Very few.
Wait for the list. We got to keep everybody waiting.
That's all I'm going to say.
Burger Boy over Whataburger. Yes. So send a gift card to the Netherlands. I will send the gift card wherever it needs to go around the world. Now, I don't know what exactly is in the Netherlands we can send a gift card for, but we can find something. Definitely. I'm not opposed to whatever. All we need to do is subscribe, man. Go be a subscriber. Like I said, search Album City Podcast Network on YouTube, and you can find us there every Monday through Friday, 2 to 3. Gio. All right, man. I wanted to start with Cheeseman, but I'm going to leave it up to you. It's you call. It's Valentine's Day, and I've got the brotherly love for you because you and I have been doing this forever together. I'm going to let you decide. What do you want to do? You want to do off-season talk first, or do you want to get into Cheeseman? Because if you got to get into Cheeseman, I got to get everything ready, man. What do you want to do first? What do you want the off-season?
We can talk about the off-season. I mean,
you want to go off-season? Okay, we'll go off-season. Sure. All right. So basically, we're going to hit Dateline NBA rumors here. NBA rumors. This is where I think that we are going to see. Let me bring in Derek. We're going to need Derek for this one right here. We're going to need Derek. Derek, you're here right here, man. We're going to need Derek for this one right here. All right. So I think we got a little bit of an echo there.
How you guys doing? Yeah. I have an echo.
A little bit of an echo, but you should be okay. You're good right there. Anyway, so an Eastern Conference GM basically said that this offseason for NBA basketball is going to be lucrative. And when he says lucrative, he's basically saying we're going to see so many moves and so many stars being moved potentially in this offseason. We're talking guys like Trae Young is going to be moved. You're talking about, like I mentioned earlier, LeBron James. They've already been talks about him going. There's even rumors of, Zach LaVine is always being rumored, but you're hearing rumors of possibly Kevin Durant being moved in the offseason. Even as far as Karl Anthony Towns is being mentioned as possibly another piece to be moved in the offseason. This offseason is going to be crazy, Gio. I want to get your opinion. Do you think we're going to see a lot of these NBA trades happening in the offseason? Because I'll be honest, if the Lakers don't win the title, you've got 1 year left to run at $50 million. I don't think he's going to go back to the Lakers after that contract is up. So you may as well try to get something what you can right now for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, if LeBron's going to skip town, you definitely want to get assets back. I do think it's going to be one of the better off seasons in a while. There's so many rumor mills going on. You hear one article one day, the next one, this guy might be on the move. So a lot of movement. It's going to be exciting. We'll see what the Spurs do. We obviously had the conversation with Derek and, about, hey, do the Spurs make a move in the offseason? I think they do. And I think Wemby's already started, right? You made that comment that, hey, I need some help. Mm-hmm. I need some help. The offseason is the best time to do that, obviously. Right now, obviously, there's some person you can get, free agency wise. But no, I think it's going to be a very exciting offseason. And for LeBron's case, hey, he wants to win another ring. And the way this Laker team is constructed, it's possible they can make another run, maybe. But, there's a lot of rumors about them firing their coach. So, look,
tons.
Not sure there. But you know what? The Warriors, hey, they tried. They tried, Rudy. They tried to get a fast one. They tried to get a fast one. It didn't work out, and now it gets publicized out in the media, which is
you can imagine. But you can imagine what the Warriors wanted in. I mean, the Lakers wanted in return. It was probably players the Warriors weren't going to give up. They wanted to give him Klay Thompson, but what's Klay Thompson worth? I mean, that's what HEB Hill Country brand right now. Klay Thompson. I mean, that's not going to get you a whole lot more money, even though HEB Hill Country brand is actually pretty good stuff out there. So, hey, Derek. So basically, with the movements in the offseason, the whole rumor about LeBron not being shopped, but being inquired about when it comes to Philadelphia. Daryl Morey was inquired about LeBron. Golden State Warriors inquired about LeBron. All that's coming out now, making for the offseason to just be extremely on fire right now. Is it safe to say that if the Lakers don't really win the title this year, that Pelinka's going to have to really sit down and think, okay, I may need to move my best asset, because after this season, there's no telling if he's going to actually be around?
Well, first I'll say good afternoon to you guys. Man, it's going to be serious. You also got to look at teams like Phoenix. What happens if Phoenix doesn't win this year? We all know how KD has a habit of moving around. So for LeBron, I don't know. They keep talking about LeBron wanting to play with Bronny. And for me, I would think that would probably be in LA if it were to happen. But at this point, I don't think the Lakers are worried about that. I think Anthony Davis has stepped up and become a leader on that team. And, I had mentioned people thought I was crazy, but I had mentioned at one time about trading LeBron myself, and people laughed at me. But, it's a business. But if they don't win this year, I could see him possibly being moved, possibly to the Eastern Conference somewhere. I don't know a team right now. But, yeah, if they don't win this year, of course he could be moved. I just think it's time for a new era.
Yeah, it definitely is time for a new era, especially in LA. I mean, they don't win the title. And, again, the whole thing with Bronny, I'm just going to go on.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah, we hear you good. You hear us, Eric? Should be able to hear him. Yeah, but you good, Derek? Let me say. The whole thing with LeBron and Bronny, I'm going to go on a side note.
Wow.
With Bronny here is the fact that he's undraftable to me. He's not a guy that's – actually, I wouldn't even look at drafting when it comes to Bronny James at all, because the thing with Bronny is the fact that he's getting all the hype, he's getting all this and stuff. He's not draftable. I would never – if I was a GM, I wouldn't be drafting Bronny James at all. And that's the issue I have with that. So – there's also Tim Gonzalez in here saying there was a rumor Paul George going back to Indiana. I did see that right there.
Yeah.
That's going to be we have some technical difficulties with Derek Irvin, so we'll get him back here as soon as we can here.
With Indiana, that would be interesting, Rudy. You have Siakam there, right? With the talent they already have, they don't play much defense, but you add George there, that could be an interesting mix of players kind of seeing if they can kind of make a run at it. But, there's going to be a lot of movement in the offseason. And like Derek said, Kevin Durant, Rudy, one moment he's like this, and one moment he's thinking something else. You never know.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I mean, the Kevin Durant thing, it's going to be interesting in offseason. I think the offseason is going to be super, super interesting. My thought about it is I think we're going to see a big move, a big player name being moved. Trae Young, obviously, I think is the one guy, and he's being rumored to San Antonio. We're going to get into that with the Cheeseman later, because he's actually a part of the Cheeseman that we're going to be talking about later. When it comes to the San Antonio Spurs and Victor Wembanyama, again, that'll be there later on in the show. Also, we've got Ben Bornstein, who's going to be joining us for some NCAA talk. Some NCAA rule changes were made yesterday. Ben's going to talk to us about that. He's going to be coming on at the 3:00 hour here with us here on Sweep the League. Again, it's Alamo City Podcast Network. Search for it on YouTube. YouTube, subscribe. If you're already a subscriber, you're entered into the drawing. Once we hit that 1K subscriber, we're going to pick a name out of the hat, basically. You're going to win something. If you're loco, it's free Burger Boy. If you're not loco, it's free something. You're going to get something from the guys here at Sweep the League. Definitely stay tuned Monday through Friday, 2 to 3:30 p.m. every single day, Monday through Friday. Don't forget, Michael Jimenez and Joe Garcia always start off the podcast network every morning from 10:15 to about 11:30 with their sports show. Also, Brandon Medina, the Generation Duo, and the Fantasy Gods podcast. Don't want to miss anything here on the Alamo City Podcast Network. Derek Irvin, Gio, Rudy Campos Jr. bringing it to you. Still talking NBA offseason. I think, the LeBron stuff has a lot of water. I don't see the Lakers winning the title this year. So I think LeBron being moved is a very, very good possibility. The one person I see like in the offseason that, I'm thinking he's going to get shopped around. And one guy mentioned it, Tim Gonzalez, was Klay Thompson. He's a guy that I mentioned actually the other day about being a San Antonio Spur. You can get him really cheap, man. I mean, I think you're going to be able to get him for peanuts, but I think you're able to get something a little bit different. You can get a little bit more for the assets that you have. Hey, Derek, the thing that I wanted to know about the Klay Thompson to San Antonio, how much sense does that make?
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you even hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Derek.
You can't hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you, Derek. Okay, well, I think I don't know, man. Klay Thompson, I think that ship has sailed in Golden State as well with Klay and Draymond and Steph. I just think it's time for a change. Klay played well this season. He's played well lately, I'll say, the last few games after he pretty much was sent to the bench. But, yeah, I think if they don't win it this year as well, it's time for a change in Golden State. Klay, to me, is a Hall of Famer. But as you know, sometimes there's time for a change. And I think if they weren't to end up well this year, if they went out first or second round, I think Golden State would definitely look at moving him and Andrew Wiggins as well. So I think this is their swan song if they don't win it all.
True. Very true. Very true. I like that. And we're going to – the other thing with this is I've even heard the LeBron, the SA rumors, and it's – I don't think the LeBron and Spurs holds any water at all, to be honest with you.
I don't think the LeBron and Spurs holds any water at all.
Oh, no. No, his
LeBron is, man.
He ain't coming here. He ain't coming here.
There's no way. I don't think, Gio, you got anything on that?
Gio, what would you think about the Trae Young?
Well, Trae Young would be a phenomenal pickup for the Spurs. Look, I know he's had a lot of negative talk about over the years and the type of player he is, but look, he averages 10 assists a game, as Derek said the other day. He's a playmaker. So I don't see a reason why, if he comes here, he's not someone who can put up those numbers and then some. And look, a great partnership to a big man is a guard, right? And a guard who can make passes, can make plays, and the Spurs just don't have that right now, at least at the point guard position. But I think it'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be really, really good.
Well, I hope the people of San Antonio, Rudy, you talk. Rudy, I'm sorry. You talk about I told you earlier. We talked about Trae Young. The reason I said it the other day, but I think if you bring in Trae, you're bringing in a marquee name. Trae is not considered a superstar by some people, but if you look at what he's done over the last 4 or 5 years, that's considered superstar to me. And then you bring him with a young guy like Wembanyama. I just think they'd be unstoppable in the pick and roll, and that would open up things for everyone else. So if you tweak the lineup a little bit around those, I think you got the formula for a winning team as we move forward starting next season.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna dive into it because I want to get into some of the season before we have to bring in Benjamin Bornstein to talk a little bit NCAA. Let's go ahead and do the Cheeseman because this Cheeseman is going to get pretty good here. Let me grab our let me get our little intro here so we have it perfectly set up here. Spurs Cheeseman time.
So, like, I hear about the Spurs this y Spurs that, y como que esto, esta, pero I never hear about the real Spurs chisme. Dime, por favor.
All right, thank you, Spurs Cheeseman Girl. So basically, we're going to talk a lot about this whole Wembanyama thing now. So Victor Wembanyama obviously came out, didn't really specifically, I guess, target it. It's hard to say like that. But he's talking about he needs help. He needs veteran help. He needs, players around him. You got to surround him. I guarantee that. Frank Valdez in here got him with Wemby on TK pick and roll day. Exactly. I mean, this is where Trae Young benefits playing with Wembanyama. Now, Derek made a fantastic point to me when he said, I told him, I'm not too sure about Trae because I'm one-sided. I see the scoring side. He does average 10 assists a game, but I still think he wants to score a lot more than, if he's here in San Antonio, he wants to score the ball a lot. But Derek also, put me in my place as well when he said he would be a way better pick and roll guy with Wembanyama here. That would be so deadly because you don't know who's going to shoot the ball. I mean, that would be brutal for any defense to handle a pick and roll between Trae Young and Wembanyama. But Derek is also right. Looking at the facts here, he would be more of a facilitator in Pop's system, which makes perfect sense for guys if you're able to keep like a Devin Vassell and, even a Jeremy Sohan. He doesn't, he's just going to be able to roam around the court, get a dunk here or there, cut to the basket. We've seen Jeremy improve on his three-point shooting as well this season. So I think a player like Trae Young benefits the San Antonio Spurs a whole lot. Gio, I want to get with Gio real quick before I get to you, Derek, because these are all your points. I want to get Gio's perspective on them before we head to Derek. But Gio, Trae Young to San Antonio, it's nothing but upside if you see it. Do you see any downside to that move being made if it is?
Yeah, just maybe he's, as Rudy said, straightforward, wants to score the basketball, doesn't want to be a facilitator as he has been in Atlanta. I would see that. I mean, look, he's been averaging a good amount of points. I mean, as he gets older, obviously, that tend to changes a certain bit, but he still has it, right? He's still showing that in Atlanta. So the negative side would be, him not averaging that 10 assists per game and kind of taking a big dip. But overall, I mean, look, we've seen some of the great duos and pick and roll like Stockton and Malone, which I'm not saying that's going to happen, right? But there's an opportunity here to really set a stage and to really take this team to the next level. Look, even if they get Trae next year, are there a number one team in the West? Probably not, right? There's still pieces that need to be developed. Some of the young guys have to continue to move forward. But adding Trae Young, the negative probably would be the assist going down in numbers and, his point total probably going up a tick. But overall, I think it's going to be a match made in heaven. And I think they'll be able to get this to work out because Trae is going to realize, look, I got a 7'4" guy in the post has so much different types of skill set that he's never seen, right? So you can use that to the advantage. But that's all I got to say on that.
The Trae Young thing it's a good match, and people are saying he averages 20 and 10 this year. You're right on that. Derek, the Trae Young thing, you're a high advocate because that's where the whole thing of you mentioned, there's no more ice in San Antonio, obviously with George retired, but there could be a new ice age coming with Ice Trae coming to San Antonio. So what do you think the new ice age in San Antonio would look like if Trae Young was here?
Hey, guys, you hear me without the speaker? Without my headphones?
Yeah, we're good.
Rudy?
Yeah,
all right.
We're good.
Well, man, the reason I said that is because I just think I would be excited to see another Trae. It's not the Iceman, but George is not walking through that door. But I would love to see Ice Trae walk through. And I mean that with all sincerity. I think Trae Young can really help this city. I think Trae is tough, man. I think he gets slighted a lot of it because he's small, and then a lot of it because he's in Atlanta, and Atlanta hasn't been doing well over the years. But him as an individual player, I just think he would be a different player here. And I actually disagree. I think his average would go down as far as scoring, and I think his average assists would go up. Because I think he realizes now that he's not the first option. It's similar to Dame Lillard. in Portland. I mean, when he went to Milwaukee from Portland. Dame knows once he got there, he's no longer the first option. And he's willing to accept that. It's all about winning now. And I think Trey would be the same here in San Antonio. I think he's matured. People forget Trey is only 27 or 28 years old. So he's still got time. I don't even know if he's peaked yet as far as being the best basketball player he can be. I think he's still learning learning the game. You put him with a guy like Wembanyama, I think it'll show that Trey has learned to understand the NBA game. I think he was sacrificed for winning, and I just think it would be a really good move for the Spurs overall.
There you go. Y'all are convincing me, about it because I was not convinced about it.
One thing, too, I want to add on. Trey did take a Hawks team to the Eastern Conference Finals. For what it's worth, he did take a team deep into the run. So we've seen him in playoff success in recent years. So I think it's going to be a good move.
Yeah, I mean, y'all are convincing me of it for sure. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Trae Young to the San Antonio Spurs. We still got more Spurs talk because the achievement continues. I mean, it's funny. I saw a post on Twitter, and I was trying to look for it so I could show it. Basically saying if Trae Young comes to San Antonio, you have Devin Vassell, you've got Sohan, you've got whoever, you've got Wemby. If there's a fourth player that you can add, or a fifth player that you could add to those four guys, any four lineup, who would it be? Now, with all the assets they've had, Derek and I have talked a lot, and we're both in agreement. If you were to go get a player like a Lauri Markkanen for the San Antonio Spurs, adding him with a Trae Young and a Devin Vassell and a Victor Wembanyama, Lauri Markkanen is a person who, okay, I'm saying it here. If you've got those guys on the floor, I would say yes, my foot is in the door when it comes to playoff. Play-in team, that's a play-in team guaranteed. Playoff team, my foot's in the door. I'm picking my head in because that's a team that can compete with every single team in the West. Lauri Markkanen to the Spurs. Derek, this was one of your biggest guys that you were talking about. Give me the insight of Lauri Markkanen being a San Antonio Spur. In our eyes, our dreams of having Markkanen as a Spur, finally, because I've always wanted him to be a San Antonio Spur.
Well, you're talking about an all-star player, first of all, and then you're bringing him in with Trae Young. It doesn't get much better than that. If you're bringing in a guard who can distribute the ball, he can score if you need him to score, and then you're bringing in, to me, Markkanen is a marquee player. And a lot of people still don't he doesn't get the notoriety he deserves up in Utah. But, man, the guy is, to me, he's a top 15 player. And I'm saying that right now. To me, he's a top 15 player. We all have our opinions, but from when I look at him and all the skill set, the things that he can do, and then at his height, he's a remarkable player. I think you bring him with Victor Wembanyama, you're talking about a different style of twin towers, and they would just make the Spurs a very formidable team. And once again, we can't leave out I cannot leave out Devin Vassell. I was actually sorry to see Doug McDermott go. So I think you fill that spot with maybe a C.D. Osman or someone. You bring in a guy that can be that sixth or seventh man off the bench. But, yeah, if you could get guys like a Trae Young and a Lauri Markkanen, you're talking about a team that's going to be, I won't say in contention, but you're talking about a team that will scare a lot of teams starting early as next season.
Yeah, you're not talking about a championship team, but you're talking championship aspirations, dreams, because they're on the right path. If you go out and get a Lauri Markkanen and a Trae Young, again, these are obviously full dreams. I think the Trae Young talk has more water. It holds more water to the San Antonio Spurs. The Markkanen is just kind of one of those guys of who would fit with the Spurs if they went and got a Trae Young. I mean, that would be the absolute perfect fit. As Ace Ventura says, fit like a glove, basically. That would be amazing for the Spurs. But the other part is they have the cap room. They have the draft picks. They have some youth that a lot of teams could use. Definitely could make a run for just about anybody, whoever they want, whether they're a free agent or not. Gio, if it's not Markkanen, who else could you add to make it a 5-man roster, a 5-man starting lineup that you could foresee them seeing? Another guy mentioned earlier, who I've mentioned before, is a Klay Thompson. That would get you more shooting for the San Antonio Spurs. But if you got a guy out there that you're looking to add to the Spurs team to give them a formidable starting 5 heading into the next season, who would it be? You got to turn your mic on.
If they can get Klay, right, as a kind of a not a last resort, right, but a 4th or 5th guy or 6th, that's a pretty good pickup, right? Like, he's a guy who can come in. Look, his 3-point percentage is still down. He's not the player he once was, but you get someone a little bit later in the career, more of a veteran presence, right, on that team with some of the younger guys. Klay Thompson could definitely be another. You have Tobias Harris out there, though. His 3-point percentage and how the game is set up, I just don't see maybe that being a great fit. But Klay Thompson, hey, DeMar DeRozan, I don't know. Look, he's going to be a free agent out there. Is it possible the Spurs bring him back as part of a pretty good tandem duo? I could definitely see the possibility there. And I know some Spurs fans might not love it, but hey,
why not? He wasn't a bad Spur.
He wasn't a bad Spur, but it's probably because he's left. He's come back. But hey, you know what? Another guy, I know it's probably not going to happen, but, the kid over there with the 76ers and Maxey, I mean, could they take a plunge on that? That would be a huge kind of like what? That's probably not going to happen.
That's a reach. That's a big reach, I think.
That's not going to happen. But if it did happen, Spurs fans would be pretty happy. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, see, David's saying DeRozan hated San Antonio. I don't know if he really hated San Antonio. I know he didn't like being here. But, I mean, there's no hatred. Now, again, if you're calling DeMar up and saying, well, we got a different 7-footer this time around compared to LaMarcus Aldridge, he might change his mind. Make things a little bit easier.
Come on, leave LaMarcus alone.
No, I love LaMarcus. LaMarcus is fine. Cooper Flag. Everybody wants Cooper Flag. I want Cooper Flag. What's that?
Why did you say DeMar DeRozan, though? What made you – I'm asking Gio, what made him bring up DeMar DeRozan? Because I brought him up to you earlier, Rudy. And I'm just curious, what made you think of the possibility of DeRozan coming back here? Because I mentioned the same thing.
I think the possibility of playing with a talent that is, quite different than what we've seen, obviously, in quite some time. I know there was rumors about DeMar not necessarily liking San Antonio, but a second go around, and if he sees from afar the talent, and he's the guy that can look. He's not the biggest 3-point shooter, but hey, he can still put up buckets. Chicago's a mess right now. And what's going on over there? I just think it'll be a good fit for a guy, maybe a 3 or 4 coming in. If you can get a Trae Young with Wemby, Vesely, he's probably the 4th option. But hey, that's a really good 4th option. To be honest with you, so I could see that work if obviously he wants to come back. But
I got it. I got you. My thing too is I still point to 2025, man. 2025 is probably the big year for me. And that's what I'm looking at. I know 2024 is a pretty good offseason. They can go do some damage, but I think 2025 is still the offseason.
If they could get Laurie, I mean, that would be really good. Really good.
Oh, I know. It says, Rudy, what if Flag with Wemby, Thompson, and Young on the team? Godly, that's the only problem I have with that is if you've got Trae Young and Klay Thompson this offseason, they're not in position to get a Cooper Flag unless they just trade up for the number 1 pick. They're not going to be that far down on the standings. But, I mean, hell, if you can go out and get a Cooper Flag with a Wemby and Thompson and Young, I mean, I would say go ahead and start getting the championship parades ready. Those 4 guys right there.
Get your season tickets.
Stop it, Rudy. You know that's wishful thinking, man. I wish we could get Cooper. You're gonna get Trae Young, and you took no way. I would like that to happen too. But I wish we could. I know you got to sacrifice something, and that's the sad part. I wish we could make all these moves this coming season and then go for Cooper Flag in 2025, but that's just too good to be true. I wish it were possible, but, man, that's like a pipe dream.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. And, Matthew Lerma brings up the great point, a fantastic point, because the Spurs do hold Atlanta's 2025 unprotected pick. If you gut Atlanta this offseason and you take Trae Young, DeJounte's probably not sticking with Atlanta. That leaves them in the bottom tier of the league. So Matt makes a perfect point. Cooper Flag in 2025 is a possibility thanks to Atlanta's unprotected first-round pick. Now, the problem I see is if you go after Trae Young, does Atlanta want that pick back? I mean, that's where I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want to give that back, knowing that your team's going to suck next year and you're going to be a lottery team. So keep in mind, it could happen, Jarek. I mean, we could see Cooper there.
Rudy, I have a question for you. You've been really spilling Cooper this week. What school is he committed to go to?
As we go to a commercial break, I refrain from mentioning what school Cooper Flag is attending next season. Yes, I know. It's down the road on Tobacco Road. It is one Duke Blue Devil team that it's gonna suck because I'm gonna enjoy watching Cooper play college ball for the wrong team or the terrible team, but I'm not gonna cheer for him at all. At all. Hey, speaking of embarrassing moments, hey, Gio, I got a question. Yesterday you mentioned and you were giving all the praise in the world for the Milwaukee Bucks, and they went ahead and just shit the bed last night. What about those Bucks, Gio? How are they looking so far?
Look. I'm talking about playoffs, man. In the words of Jim Mora, okay? Playoffs. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about regular season games, though it was somewhat of a good game, or an important game, should I say. But look, playoff time, they're still gelling. Doc Rivers, he's the one wild card I'm a little worried about because, he always seems to give up leads in the playoffs and things don't work out. But look, I think it's still a talented team, two really good talents. I think the Bucks are still going to be in the conversation to get to the finals. Look, call me crazy, but
shut your mouth. There's no way.
Look, and playoff time is a little different. All right, things sometimes get a little slower. Look, just give it time. Stars will rise in the postseason, and we'll see. I'm not saying that
get the fuck out of here.
They're going to win the whole thing. All I'm saying is, I think they're still in the running. You've already dismissed them. So
yes, I dismissed them the day they traded for Dame Lillard.
So if they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, would you have changed your mind?
No, they're not going to. They're not even going to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. They're not going to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. There's no way. I take it back.
All right. Yeah,
no, because you have if Embiid is not healthy come playoff time, then I can see that.
That's what I was factoring in, Rudy.
And then if you have Jimmy Butler, who's still kind of not playing, up to par, again, I see that. They can San Francisco their way into a title game.
Here we go.
They can San Francisco their way into a title game.
No. We'll see what happens postseason.
It's not going to happen. Derek even knows it's not going to happen. Derek, you want to fill Gio in on his Milwaukee Bucks?
I'm not a big Buck fan this year, but I know they're going to be tough to beat in the 7-game series, especially in the Eastern Conference. And you look at it right now with Philly kind of falling off with Joel Embiid being out. That of course raises them one level right there. And then I still don't know how much I believe in the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Indiana Pacers. So if we do process elimination, that would keep the Bucks in the mix. Of course, we still have to see what the Miami Heat. Yeah, well, it's not over. Then you got the Heat as well. We can't overlook the Miami Heat. So, but Milwaukee's right there. If you look at it, you name 3 teams realistically that you would think that would come out of the East, and that includes the Knicks. But Milwaukee would, I'm sure, be in that 3 because they're going to be tough. They have the big fella Giannis. And you talk about the game slowing down, Gio, and I agree with you. And then you got size. They still have size with Brook Lopez, Portis. And so that means a lot in the Eastern Conference. So I think they're still going to be right there. And so when it comes down to it.
All I know is Boston's
the voice of reasoning. Thank you. The voice of reasoning.
He is the voice of reasoning. That's why Derek's on the show too, because he can pull us off of our ledges over here when we're talking nonsense, like Gio talking nonsense about the Milwaukee Bucks being title contenders. It ain't happening. Right. There's no way. There's no way.
We'll see what happens, Rudy. We'll see.
We will see. You know what does happen is Monday through Friday, Sweep the League comes to you from 2 to 3:30 p.m. every single day. Follow us on the Alamo City Podcast Network. Search that on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. We're giving away some stuff once we hit 1,000 subscribers. In fact, Gio's begging me to give something away even before we hit 1,000 subscribers. So we'll see what we could do about giving something away to all the subscribers out there. We love that y'all listen to us. We're glad you put up with our shenanigans. We are talking NBA basketball. Man, we've got Ben Bornstein. Probably in about another 15 minutes, Ben's going to join us to talk real quick on NCAA basketball. A couple of rule changes. I'm pretty sure Ben's going to give me crap about my North Carolina Tar Heels. We got some quarterback talk here coming up here as well. USFL and XFL rules, we're going to kind of get into that a little bit here. I think Gio's going to look it up for you guys, go over some of the rules that are in place. But before we get to Ben here, I'm going to bring up something that I definitely want to talk about. Let me share the screen. This is the first time I do this. You got to bear with me, guys, because I don't do this very often. So you got to help me out here and bear with us. We're sharing the screen. So basically, what you're seeing on screen is from the 33rd team off of the Twitter 2024 offseason power ranking. So, okay, got a problem with this here. I'm going to go first. You look at number 18, Brock Purdy. How is Brock Purdy worse than an Anthony Richardson? Even an Aaron Rodgers? I mean, yeah, injury-filled, whatever. How is he worse than Geno Smith, Kyler Murray? I mean, honestly, man, the guy's done more in his little career than Dak Prescott has. Where do you get off seeing Brock Purdy at number 18? That's my question. That's the problem I have. I want to see Gio. Gio, there's got to be some shit wrong with this.
Yeah. So, as much as of a 49er hater that I am, I think Purdy's way number 18. He should definitely be up there. I mean, you look at the list, Rudy. Geno Smith, that dude fell off a cliff. I do not agree with that. Aaron Rodgers didn't even play last year. And look, CJ Stroud's a little high. I mean, Burrow was out, but I think Burrow should definitely be in the top 5, honestly. Justin Herbert.
Who do you take out?
Justin Herbert.
Really? You would take out Herbert and put Burrow there?
I mean, Burrow has. I mean, if you think about Burrow, he was hurt, but he's outdoing Patrick Mahomes before, right? He's gone to a Super Bowl. That should be worth something. And Justin Herbert, the last time I saw him in a playoff game, they gave up a huge lead. So you could take him out. Stafford, I'm fine. You leaving him there.
Only because you're a Rams fan, you're leaving Stafford there. That's the only reason why you're leaving Stafford there.
Also, Levis, he should be at the bottom with Zappy, in my opinion. This is interesting. Look at this. Russell Wilson. I'll say this about Russell. You go look at his stats, Rudy. The man actually had a pretty good year.
He had a fantastic year.
Yeah, he had a pretty fantastic year. Sean Payton still threw him under the bus. But the list, Purdy needs to be high. Richardson didn't even finish the season. I have a big issue with that. Kyler Murray, he spent most of the year playing Call of Duty, so he needs to be a little bit lower than that. So this list is kind of weird to me, though, too, because I think Baker should be up. Tua had a good year. Justin Fields, he needs to be lower than that.
100%.
This is kind of a weird list, though. It's kind of a little hanky-janky.
So Tim Gonzalez mentioned Dak and CJ should switch places. I've got a problem with that because honestly, I'm ranking CJ higher than Dak based off of 2023. I'm ranking CJ higher than Dak. I'm ranking Joe Burrow, even though it was injury filled. When you look at going into 2024, I'm ranking Joe Burrow higher than Dak Prescott. I'm ranking Jared Goff for the season he had higher than Dak Prescott. Even Russell Wilson should be close to where that ranking is. Seeing Dak Prescott at 6, it really has me bothered. Really has me triggered.
Well, I mean, really, Dak actually statistically had a really good year. I think he had about 36 touchdowns and I think around 9 or 10 picks. I mean, that's a good, solid year. Trevor Lawrence, he had a bit of a down year, honestly. They started off really good, Rudy, and then they kind of fell off the wagon towards the end of the year. But Kyler Murray, to me, is this based off of like a few years ago? Because
I don't know.
He didn't even play last year. I mean, they did have some wins down the stretch. But yeah, no, this list is it's just, and then your boy from Atlanta.
Don't get me started.
I guess he's probably where he needs to be. Yeah, I don't know.
He's definitely right there. We leave him there. He's bottom tier. Derek.
But the one thing I will agree is Matthew Stafford. Thank for the love to put him on there because that guy is one of the best throwers of football you will ever see. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'll give you that. Derek, give me your thoughts on the list here, man.
I'm looking at this list, and hey, first of all, we talked about we started with Brock Purdy, right?
Yeah.
So I got Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts right now. I don't think Jalen Hurts had a great finish to his season. I thought he played well the first 11 games, but after that, I mean, it was a total roller coaster ride. So I would even have Purdy over him. And then some of these guys, man, it's absolutely ridiculous. You mentioned you don't even have Dak in the top 6, Rudy.
No, I don't.
I mean, he's in the top 6. Wasn't he in the MVP voting? Didn't he get MVP votes? So that at least puts him in the top. And so, and he talked about removing Justin Herbert. I had Justin Herbert as my MVP favorite going into the 23-24 season. So I don't think he drops very far. But if you look at some of these guys, Kyler Murray, I think that's ridiculous that he's over Purdy. Kirk Cousins, I mean, come on. Jared Goff has had a good year, but I think Purdy had a better year than all those guys. If you look at the success, and I thought it was based on success. And if you look at success, you can't say that the 49ers just did it because of the other guys. Purdy played a major factor in that. So I think the list is kind of bogus, to be honest about it.
Yeah, I'm agree. I mean, Purdy should be, honestly, if I'm looking at the list based off of success, I mean, Brock Purdy, can we argue the fact that Brock Purdy should be no lower than 4 based off of success and based off of his year?
Well,
okay, Gio, before you say it, he got MVP, consideration. That's why he's got to be at least top 4.
The only thing I'll say about the list and what I think maybe whoever did this is maybe putting the system ahead of Purdy. Maybe they're saying, hey, Kyle Shanahan's system, anyone could come in and be successful. We saw Jimmy Garoppolo, Rudy, in this system get to an actual Super Bowl and almost beat Patrick Mahomes. And he's also been to several NFC championship games. So it's possible whoever did this list, the idea of Purdy being such a system quarterback or a game manager, right, as Cam Newton likes to say, that essentially they're saying, hey, Purdy's good, but the system is what is showing maybe his ceiling is not as high as what, because maybe if he's outside the system, if Purdy's with Atlanta, what do you think he does, Rudy?
He doesn't put up statistics that he did this year. Obviously, doesn't lead him to a Super Bowl. I don't think he's going to make the playoffs. Well, you know what? I take it back. Playoffs are a possibility because in that division, you just have to limp into first place.
But my argument is you also need good players. So I think it's unfair to lock Purdy into that just system guy. But this is what it's kind of looking like from afar, at least for me.
Okay. I'll give you that. Fair enough. He did say Dak finished second in MVP voting, which I do get that. Daniel Jones is going to be forever linked to me because I remember on one of our first draft nights that we did a live show, I said Daniel Jones would be the better quarterback between him and Kyler Murray.
Wait a minute, where is Daniel Jones on the list?
He's number 23. But for my argument's sake, it's hard to say if him or Murray have had the better career so far. I mean, it's very tough to say between those two guys.
No, it's not. It's Kyler.
Oh my God,
Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it's Kyler Murray. Stop. Yeah, stop it. Stop
that, Rudy. Stop that.
I'm trying to fix your narrative. I'm trying to save face here, man. Come on.
You're trying to fix your narrative because just a few years ago you said Daniel Jones this and Daniel Jones that, and then now you're trying to say he had a better career than Kyler Murray. No, he didn't.
No, yeah, the careers are still going on. We're talking about that.
Rudy, his playoff run, by the way, with Brian Daboll, he had like 14 touchdowns. Give me a break.
Oh my God! This is sweep the league.
Saquon was the man that year. Okay, that team. I don't even know how to be the playoff with that quarterback.
This is Sweep the League, coming to you every single Monday through Friday here on the Alamo City Podcast Network on YouTube. Search Alamo City Podcast Network, smash that subscribe button, like and share the link. Also, don't forget Michael Jimenez and Joe Garcia bring it to you every single morning from 10:15 to 11:30. Brandon Medina has his Generation Duo podcast. We're growing. The network's growing. We're loving it here. We love the new home that we have here at the Alamo City Podcast Network. We will hopefully be joined by Ben Bornstein talking NCAA basketball in the next 5 minutes or so. We'll get Ben in here for some of the new changes and get him in and out really quickly. We went over quarterback rankings, man. Of course, Gio has to put Matthew Stafford at 5, which is unreal. It's unheard of. So, I mean, I don't.
Wait.
Brock Purdy should be higher than Stafford. Come on.
Did you see what Matthew Stafford did with a rookie wide receiver drafted in the 5th round? Did you see what he did?
Do you have like naked photos of Matthew Stafford? Like, what do you?
Wait. Did you see what Puka Nacua did, Rudy? I'm sure you saw. With the rookie receiver. Did you see his draft grade? Did you see what they did to that guy? It was terrible. It was terrible. Stafford has some of the 3 best wide receiver seasons. Cooper Kupp, Calvin Johnson, and Puka Nacua. I rest my case.
I don't know. Derek, you got anything on the Matthew Stafford front, Derek? Because Gio just gives me crap all day about his Rams. Like if I'm calling them terrible every single day.
Gio just said everything. He was right on point. So I have to agree with him. I think Matthews has some good years. So I agree 100%.
Yeah. I'm never going to live down the Matthew Stafford talk or the Rambassador talk here from Gio at all. You know what? It is what it is, man. I was just going to say it is what it is. But nonetheless, dude, so if we see Brock Purdy go into next season and he grabs a Super Bowl, makes it another Super Bowl run, and they go back to the Super Bowl, is he legit probably 2 or 3 on that list?
I mean, it's possible. So, it's so hard to.
Where does winning play a factor then?
It obviously does team success, but look, I hate to pour on Purdy because I think he's a really good quarterback, and I think he's on the come up, and he's done really good the past 2 years, more than anyone even expected. After they also drafted Trey Lance and they got rid of him, but I do think if he gets another Super Bowl run, wins the Super Bowl, I would put him in the top 5. I mean, it depends what happens. I have to see more of Purdy. It's just that system, man. It is so – he gets the ball out quick. He does a good job, takes care of the football. I don't know, man. Because when you look at Lamar Jackson, though, he's more exciting, obviously. But Lamar, he has his issues throwing. We saw in the playoff game against Mahomes, he tried to outduel him, and he couldn't. But Joe Burrow's coming back, Rudy. Joe Burrow's coming back, and he's going to have something to say about that.
Yeah. So, hey, just to I don't mean to cut you guys off, but I'm just seeing this right now, and actually Matthew Lerm is correct. Chaos has broken out at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade today. Police and military personnel just took off inside Union Station. Apparently, from what they're reporting, 10 people are dead in a shooting at the Kansas City Super Bowl parade. Thoughts and prayers are out to everybody that has been shot, or we don't have any details right now. We are breaking this news right now. I am looking at it right now. So again, prayers out to everybody in Kansas City. I don't have any details as we're on right now, but again, as we get more details, if we're on the air, we'll go ahead and break this to you. Appreciate Matt Lerma for letting us know that, and I was searching it right while you guys were talking. So, yeah, man, it's a sad situation. It's in Kansas City right now. It's a world where it's tough to live in, to be honest with you, man.
Well, also, Rudy, we also had the shooting at Joel Osteen's church where someone pulled fire just randomly going into the church. And, yeah, it's it's definitely unfortunate. Unfortunately, we see a lot of these kind of random acts just happening throughout the country and also around the world.
Yeah, it definitely is not a good scene. You got anything, Derek? I don't know if you wanted to say something.
Oh, man, I'm sending my prayers to the families of the ones that were lost in that tragedy. It's sad. It happens it's been happening so often. Like some people are getting numb to it, and that's a sad thing. So I just want to send my prayers out to the families, man. I think it's another senseless tragedy. I'm sorry to hear something like this happen, but my prayers definitely go out to the family.
Yeah, definitely prayers go out to them. This is Sweep the League. We're actually joined now by our Project Spurs senior NCAA analyst, Sweep the League senior NCAA analyst, and draft guru himself. We're joined by the one and only Benjamin Boomstein, the Boomstein. It's been forever since I've talked to you, man.
It's definitely been too long. It's that I'll say for sure. I'm ready for pure March chaos, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, and that's funny because you're bringing up the March, and as I said, I'm a new guy to this whole thing. Joe left me in charge of this, and I don't know why he did. So definitely trying to get all this scared away. But let me share the screen. This is kind of what I wanted to bring you on about. Ross Dellinger over on Twitter, man. First and foremost, thank you for joining us, Ben. Like I said, senior analyst for NCAA and NBA guru, draft guru himself. But you got them exploring the NCAA tournament, college football playoffs, ACC Big 12's new roles, the inevitable expansion in March, some modifications to Project Division I, all this coming out. It's got to do something to March matches and NCAA just in general, from what I'm understanding.
Yeah, I don't like the way this is heading. If indeed they do decide to expand it, I was actually against it when they did an initial expansion in, they had 64 teams for a very long time, right? I think it was after the 1985 tournament. That was when Villanova won, but there weren't 16 teams in every bracket. So they expanded it again in 2001. They added a single play-in game. Fine. Then they added the other three first four games, what are now called the first four games that are played like Tuesday and Wednesday now. That was in 2011. And even in 2011, I was not super happy with that because you're now starting to water down your field. And I thought there would be a bit of a trickle effect where you allow 68 teams to get in. Now you're going to talk about, what's another 16? What's another, insert the number here, right? So for me, expansion is bad. I mean, I know there are a ton of Division I teams. There's over 300 Division I basketball teams. And at some point you have to say, you know what? Maybe not all of these are good. Maybe not all of these teams deserve to be in the postseason. And that's why you have the NIT, right? It's a good opportunity for a lot of those teams that were maybe bubble teams that weren't as good, had a decent season, or at least a good season compared to their normal standards. And they can go out and still play. They have teams on campus, or they have students on campus. They play actual home games for the NIT, and then, of course, the NIT's Final Four is in Madison Square Garden, obviously a great basketball venue. So, I just don't think you need more than 68 right now, and it's scary that we're even having a discussion.
Yeah, it makes more sense to do it for, college football, where they're expanding to, I believe it was 12 or 16 teams coming up here. So it makes more sense there. But yeah, for NCAA basketball, it makes almost no sense at all. We're talking to the Boomstein, that I always mess that up, and I'm going to get that one day.
One day.
Benjamin over here from Project Spurs, senior analyst over there for NCAA basketball, NBA draft guru. And I got to ask you before we cut it short with you, because I know you're a busy man. I got to – the check's in the mail, by the way. I talked to Joe. The check's in the mail, so you have to – I know you have an appearance fee that you always charge.
Right.
So, I told Joe to send you the check. But, man, with Spurs Talk, that you do a lot of Spurs Talk and draft coming up, 2024, you've got some players there, definitely. And I'm looking at 2025. The question that I want to ask you first, has Cameron Boozer declared anything? I mean, is he going to be in the 2025 draft, or is it not until 2026?
He is going to be in the recruiting class of 2025, at least as of now. He hasn't moved up. I don't think he would be eligible to reclassify up a year. He's not old enough. So he's going to be in the recruiting class of 2025, which means the draft class of 2026.
Okay. So everybody's just honing their eyes in on one Cooper Flagg in 2025.
Yes, Cooper Flagg is the prize.
Would you say, now for me, it's kind of – I'm going to get a lot of hell from Spurs fans, but Cooper Flagg is going to have the same type of hype and the same kind of impact that Wembanyama has to wherever he goes. That's the type of player that I see him as. Can you give people a little background on Cooper Flagg?
He'll definitely have a lot of hype, because I think he's very clearly the best player in that class, in the 2024 recruiting class, and possibly the 25 draft class. And a lot of people perceive the 25 draft class to be a lot better than this year's, so that helps him too. But for people wondering, basically, Cooper, a lot the really funny comparison that I see is a lot of people are calling him like a modern day Larry Bird, because the kid's fairly athletic and he's white and he can shoot. So now he's Larry Bird all of a sudden. That's not to say he's not a very good player. He is. I'm assuming that he plays at Duke the way everybody thinks he will. He will be the number one draft pick in 2025. He is incredibly athletic, and it's not athletic for a white guy. He is just flat out athletic. He can jump. He shoots the ball really well. I think we're going to have to see how well he shoots it from three at the college level, just because the distances keep growing as you go to each level. So, it's a lot easier to hit from high school three than it is college, than it is NBA. So as long as he shows that he's got that kind of range, I think he'll be great. He'll be fine. And he will make an immediate impact on whoever drafts him. I don't know if he'll make a Wembanyama-sized impact. I mean, you're talking about a guy who just within this last week had a triple-double with blocks. Mm-hmm. And was the first to do so since he was the first rookie to do so since David Robinson in 1990. So It's been a while. To say a guy is going to have an impact like that is pretty bold, but I'm willing to bet he's going to be the betting favorite for the top draft pick in 25, and then the rookie of the year in for the 25-26 season.
Yeah. Hey, man, before we let you go, like I said, I know you're a busy, man. Before we let you go, we're going to give one of our followers and listeners a chance to ask you a question. Tim Gonzalez says, what is Tyrese Proctor's draft status? Could be on the Spurs radar. So where does Proctor fall on the Spurs radar? I mean, is it somebody that you think they could really, really be looking at?
He's a guy you should be looking at if you're looking to move back in the draft. If the Spurs get that Raptors pick and they have their own pick and they're not really sure what they want to do, and they decide we're going to go full Patriots and just take these picks, give them away, and move back in this draft and get future picks, then I think it's a good spot to get Tyrese Proctor. He's probably a guy who belongs, I would say, in the 20s and later of the draft. This year, everybody thought, he showed flashes at the end of last season of what kind of guard he could be. But, Jeremy Roach has really been the starter for Duke, and Jared McCain has had some really nice moments. And I think some of that has taken away from the momentum of Proctor. So he's a guy you should be looking at if you can get him kind of later in this draft, either late first round or early second.
Nice. Hey, guys, this is Benjamin Bornstein, Project Spurs, and the official NCAA analyst for Sweep the League and NBA draft guru for Sweep the League. We're going to get you on a lot more, man, because we definitely want to get some draft talk here towards the end of the season. We're going to try to get you to come on to give Spurs fans an idea of who they might be looking at, considering they may have multiple picks in the first round this year, which is a good possibility. But yeah, man, appreciate you joining on. And again, the check's in the mail. I promise you. I just texted Joe Garcia. He asked me how many zeros to add at the end. I told him at least,
okay. All right.
At least 5 zeros.
As long as there's 2 after the decimal point, it's fine.
Oh, yeah. Definitely got you on there, man. I appreciate you joining, Ben. Thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, Ben. That was Ben. What's up, man?
Where's my check, Rudy? Where's Derek's check? Where's Derek's check?
Y'all's check is at the end of the month is when we get paid from YouTube, apparently. So that's where the check's coming in from. So that was Ben Bornstein. He gave you a little bit of insight as far as Cooper Flag in 2025. We had a Tyrese Proctor question from Tim Gonzalez. Great question, Tim. Appreciate you asking that. And again, gave you a little bit of quick background on what's happening with the NCAA. This is Sweep the League. You are listening to us on the Alamo Study Podcast Network. Go onto YouTube, search it, subscribe, like, and share. We want to grow this channel. We want to grow this podcast. We want everybody listening. We've got more guests coming on. I'm working on Jeff Garcia for hopefully tomorrow to come on. So we'll definitely talk about see if we can get Jeff on the show for tomorrow. Derek, what's your assessment of Cooper Flag? Because we're getting a draft guy who studies the game, but an actual player, former player of the game. I want to know exactly what your assessment of Cooper Flag is.
From what I've seen so far, I think you're talking about a guy that's going to be a star in the league. He has all the ability. He's very athletic, but he also understands the game. And I think so that's going to be very important. But I think his ceiling is very high. I can't wait till he comes into the draft. I think he's going to do well next season in college. I think he's going to be an asset for Duke. But as we know, it's going to be kind of like Zion. He plays 1 year, and then he gets ready for the NBA. I'm very excited about it, and I think the fans will be very excited about it. I think he's the new kid, going to be the new kid on the block, the next superstar that Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren and all those guys are going to have to deal with.
Yeah, I agree, man. Gio, you've got to be excited to have Cooper Flag at least for one season.
For one season, Zion was there for one. We've had so many great players that come out of Duke, right, Rudy? That's some really great players. Grant Hill, Christian Laettner.
There's only one so far, Grant Hill. Keep naming them because I guarantee you.
Hey, Kyrie was a good player, Rudy.
Okay, Kyrie. Who else? Should we go with Carolina?
This is not a Duke. This is not a Duke Carolina game, all right? Let's not talk about that. We'll talk about that different episode.
Oh, you don't want to go with that? You don't want to go with that talk? Tim, we're going to ask Jeff about the dream lineup. Like I said, I'm trying to get him on for the show tomorrow so we can talk about that. Gio tries to,
But Cooper, it's going to be exciting. A lot of noise on Twitter, or should I say X, whatever you want to call it nowadays. But I'm definitely excited to see him play. It's going to be a fun year next year when we beat Carolina twice. So,
oh my God, I don't doubt it. You probably will beat Carolina, man. So, if they get lucky and the Spurs are able to draft Cooper Flag because of Atlanta and their lottery pick, would you have T-shirts being made for the Spurs that say, Victory Flag?
Rudy, better copyright that. Rudy, you better copyright it now.
I'm copywriting it right now.
You better copyright it right now. If not, someone's going to steal it.
I know. I shouldn't have said it
never
live
said
on the air,
anything.
but we'll see if we could get. Well, we got to make sure it happens first. We can't just. Can't just go out on a limb. And
well, if you make the shirts now, if it doesn't happen, you could send it to a different country. So.
Wow, man. Kind of like the Super Bowl shirts, right? Now
yeah.
That whole thing, man. All right, man. So, hey, we've got a little bit of time left. We like to have fun at the end of the day. We do sweep or keep. And again, this is kind of a sweep or keep type of moment here. I got a list here, and I don't know if I have it online. Let me see if I can find it so I can show you guys here. But earlier, I found a post that has the most unstoppable duos if you were to pair them in the NBA. I want to get into that talk, but real quick before we do, Matthew Lerma had a thing yesterday, Gio. Do you happen to have the XFL, USFL stuff up? I'm trying to see if I want to get into that kind of talk as well, real quick here.
I did. Give me one second.
Basically, until you look it up, I'll give you a couple of minutes on this. Before you look it up, the thing is that USFL and XFL have combined. San Antonio has a team, the San Antonio Brahmas. They're being coached by Wade Phillips, actually. So they kind of combined rules. You're getting some rules of the USFL, some rules of the XFL. One rule that I really loved was the kickoff return, where you had everybody lined up on the opposing, I believe, 20, and they couldn't move until that player caught the ball, was receiving the ball. Then it limits for concussions. That's what really, really was the reason why I love that rule. I don't think they adapted that rule into this league. They did not adapt it. They did adapt the XFL's rule of the extra point. So you go from, I think the 10-yard line is 1 point, 20-yard lines to 30-yard lines. Which is actually pretty cool, Rudy, because now it really changes the game, right? There's no more extra points. So you get 1, 2, and 3 style points, depending on how many yards you want to go. So I thought that was a really clever way to introduce something a little bit different. And there's also a few other rules as well. We talk about the kickoff rule, and also the overtime rule is going to be very similar to college. So they're taking a page out of the college situation where, in the NFL, you have to kick off, right, to a certain team. In college, you start at is it the 30, Rudy? Something similar to that. So that sentence is very exciting. It's good to see the league kind of separate itself from kind of the big brother. But you got the kickoff rules. There's also the XFL double pass rule. The league allows a team to throw 2 forward passes on one play, which is, just thinking about it, it's kind of interesting to see. So we'll get some more trickery plays. It's going to be fun. The USFL, XFL, again, San Antonio has a team, so definitely want to go check it out. Tim Gonzalez reminded me Final Four is here next year in San Antonio. So, Gio, get your tickets ready if you want to see Cooper Flag losing the Final Four to the Tar Heels. It's going to happen here in San Antonio. Well, college basketball, though, in the tournament, it's normally those teams that have been together, right? The 4-year seniors who probably aren't going to the NBA. So the teams are more veteran. Like we saw Zion in the tournament, but those one-and-done players normally don't make the championship run, right, Rudy? Like it's kind of hard. We don't see it very often. Well, what's not often is the fact that you get a list like this that I'm about to announce here. I've got a list of players here, and it's actually a graphic here. So I couldn't find the graphic. That's my fault again. I'm an old man. I'm an old fart. I don't know how to do this technology stuff, but nonetheless, man, you've got pairing. So today's players paired with a former player to create an unstoppable duo. Now, before we react to some of these, we're gonna go through a couple of them here. They have Wilt Chamberlain paired with Steph Curry. I would say that'd be pretty dominant. That would be a pretty dominant duo right there. I think so. They have Joel Embiid and Allen Iverson as an unstoppable duo. I think I could pick another person besides Allen Iverson for the Sixers to make that a very unstoppable duo. For the Lakers, they have LeBron James, obviously currently player, Which guy do you think the Lakers have that they picked for the Lakers as an unstoppable duo? Just give me a player, anybody.
Magic.
No, Derek.
For the Lakers, I would have to say Shaq.
Okay, both of y'all both get the buzzer from the Family Feud because they say the most unstoppable duo is LeBron and Kobe for the Lakers.
Okay. That would be.
They get no.
Not at all, man.
I thought
they get the buzzer, not us.
I thought they would get the big, with LeBron, not another guard.
Thank you.
You would think, right?
Thank you, Gio. Thank you very much.
You would think a big. I mean, Shaq. Look, Shaq from 2000 to 2003, one of the most unstoppable things I've ever seen. So
100%, 100%. So let's go. I guess ones that I agree on. They have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with Kevin Durant. I can go with that. That's perfectly fine. They have Luka Doncic and Dirk Nowitzki. Again, I can definitely get down with that. Perfect right there. Anthony Edwards and Kevin Garnett. I'm perfectly fine with that. Then you have Larry Bird and Jason Tatum. Again, kind of Boston's lore. You have Russell. You got so many players. I'm okay with the Bird and Tatum pairing. I think that would be pretty unstoppable. Two more teams. One of them is the Spurs, actually. One of them is the Spurs. But the other team, but I'm going to definitely give a buzzer, is they have one Michael Jeffrey Jordan as the past player. Teamed up with Zach LaVine. Wouldn't you possibly put DeMar DeRozan as the current player with Michael Jordan? I don't get that at all.
I would put a better shooter with Mike, so I would put DeRozan.
But you would put a scorer with Mike.
Well, yeah. I mean, so
I'm gonna leave this one for Derek now. We're gonna give the floor to Derek because they have current Spur and current Rookie of the Year favorite Victor Wembanyama, and he's paired as an unstoppable duo. Derek. He's paired with one Tony Parker.
No, for me it would be, I'm not going to say my brother, who I love dearly. I'm going to say Kawhi Leonard, because you're talking about a guy who can defend, and he's just explosive offensively in today's game, as you see, and he shoots. He's very efficient. He shoots a very high percentage, but he's a quiet assassin, and I think him and Victor would be that would be a really tough duo.
Exactly. I would love that. I give you the props on that because it wasn't Timmy. I mean, Timmy and Wemby is perfect. It's a perfect duo, in my opinion. I like that duo. But I was exactly like you. I went Kawhi Leonard and Wembanyama. The balance of both guys being defenders, top defenders, both guys being able to score at will. I mean, come on, Joe. You cannot deny the fact that when Kawhi Leonard is healthy, he is an MVP candidate.
Oh, no. He's a phenomenal player.
So you're getting best of both worlds. A shooter. Both guys can shoot. Both guys can defend. Both guys can score at will. They both have an offensive array of moves. So I think pairing Wemby and Kawhi is magnificent. What do you think, Gio? You got anybody else?
No, I mean, of course, obviously, Timmy, David. I mean, David would, he's a young David Robinson with a Wemby would be pretty interesting. Just for kind of kicks and giggles, how about Wemby and Dennis Rodman? I mean, that would be an interesting, an interesting duel there. But I think Kawhi is probably the best one. Parker, I mean, look, the pick and roll game would be, really deadly. I mean, you can have a guy who can really facilitate, but Kawhi, I know Spurs fans going to hate this, but Kawhi and Wemby would be a really, really good duo.
That would be an amazing duo. And I know we're going to get crap for that, but I mean, it is what it is. So, Derek, let me ask you this question, man, because you know how high I am on this guy. And I love me this player right here. And I love this part because we're going to talk some old NBA. Gio was telling me yesterday, we got to get some old NBA guys in here, some past players that want to talk because we love reliving our old NBA memories back when I was watching VHS tapes, with the Cleveland Cavaliers playing the Bulls and, all that stuff and all those great games. And Gio, known fact, if you remember the Jordan highlight in Chicago where he went from the left side of the rim, came down below, made it under the right, kind of like he was falling down. It was against the New Jersey Nets. And if you look closely, you'll see Derek in the background on the bench on that.
Derek!
He was right there.
How was that moment, Derek?
Yeah, how was that moment, man? I've never to ask you that one time.
How was that moment?
It was funny, man, because I'm sitting there. It was funny to me because I'm sitting there next to my best friend on the team, Sam Bowie, and I'm sitting there next to Tate George. And a lot of people might remember Tate from Connecticut University fame, hitting one of the big shots, and then in the Final Four, I believe. And so I'm sitting there with these guys, and then all of a sudden, Mike takes off on one of his flights. And, man, I can't lie. I tried to cover my face up because me being on the other team, at that time, you're not supposed to celebrate for the other team, but I couldn't help it. And so I tried to cover up. And if you look, Tate George stands up, and he's on the bench. And he jumps up off the bench, and he starts leaning on the guy to his left. That guy he's leaning on is me. So it was a heck of a move. I try not to get too excited, but after the game, I talked about the move a lot. And, hey, as you see, it's still an iconic move today.
That's got to be one of his most iconic moves, I think. I remember seeing that, like, holy cow. But I'm bringing up some old NBA talk here because I love talking old NBA stuff with Derek all the time. Can you imagine, say this was a fantasy world. Obviously, it has to be a fantasy world. But a player like Victor Wembanyama benefiting from a player like Mark Price.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
You know me, Rudy, so I'll let Gio take that one. You already know.
Well, look, Mark Price, one of the best shooters of his day. Don't get a lot of recognition, at least among some of the, obviously, the younger crowd. But Mark Price, he ran the pick and roll with Doherty, right? Just a sensational passer, can also shoot the ball really well. Yeah. A really good free throw shooter. That would be, again, another player coming into his own. Price would be able to really walk him through a lot of stuff. And there's just so many underrated players, though. As we talked about Mark Price, there's so many other guys that we don't talk about, right? There's guys that played this league for a while that you never really hear their name. And it's funny that you brought up Mark Price because I tweeted at Mark, I think it was like last year, Rudy, a video of Steve Kerr talking about Mark and how great of a shooter that he was in his day. But Mark Price and Wemby, that would be another match made in heaven.
I mean, you're talking about Mark Price, the originator, the creator of the step through on the pick and roll. I mean, to me, I actually, tried to mirror my game off of Mark Price. I mean, a lot of people really don't know that, but when I played, I studied Mark Price a lot, man. Can you really say the perfect point guard? For me, he kind of was the perfect point guard. Can shoot, can pass, very good playmaker. I mean, to me, he was probably one of the best point guards ever but that's just my opinion. I know he's not up there, top point guards ever, but I mean, definitely is one of my top point guards, period. So, he would split the pick and roll. I mean, he was definitely ahead of his time. Yeah, he was. Hey, Derek, give me a player from way back when, because you and I are the old guys on the team, that you feel never got the love that deserves it. Because I mean, I always talk to you about those Cleveland Cavalier teams with Larry Nance, Brad Daugherty, Mark Price, Craig Elo, Steve Kerr, Ron Harper. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think Bobby Fields was a part of that team. I mean, Hot Rod Williams.
Don't forget Hot Rod Williams, right?
Man, Duncan.
Rudy, that is a heck of a question. Now, I'm going to go back. I'm going to mention a power forward that a lot of people don't talk about. if you go back to his college career, University of Houston to be exact, he played really well, and they defeated Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and UCLA. And then Kareem and them, of course, got revenge later on when it mattered the most. And that's Alvin Hayes. They talk about a lot of great power forwards, but they don't. They talk about the Duncans and the Karl Malones, and we hear about the Charles Barkleys and those guys, but you never hear really about Alvin Hayes. The guy could defend. He could score the basketball. He could jump out the gym. And he was just a defensive presence. And, I mean, the guy could block shots. He could stand in the paint. And it kind of reminded me of Wilt somewhat. How he could just stand there on the guy he's actually guarding and still jump high enough to deflect the shot. So, yeah, for me, it would be Alvin Hayes, the Big E, they called him, the Big E.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Alvin Hayes, man. I mean, again, another guy didn't get a whole lot of love, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
There's so many guys. You know, I remember I saw a highlight of Alex English, and he was a guy in the 80s who, if you look at this guy's highlights, I mean, he was one of the highest points per game average in the NBA during that time. You never even hear you never hear about his name, but you go look at that guy's highlights. He was a walking basket. Could really, really play. Just so many other guys. Sidney Moncrief. I mean, there's a number of guys you just don't really hear, but obviously, you know, it's just different NBA. And I grew up in the 90s, so I love watching like 90s old, you know, NBA tapes and all that stuff. So, another guy, Rudy, one last guy, Tom Chambers, who I think he was actually a really good player, and Tom could score, man. Tom could play. Go watch the highlights for any of you who are listening. You don't know who Tom Chambers is. Go YouTube Tom Chambers, and I mean he is a really good player.
Yeah, Tom Chambers. Derek mentioned Tom Chambers the other day.
I played against Tom. I'm sorry, Rudy. I played against Tom at the end of his career in Israel.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Tom Chambers is another one, man. We're just to sweep the league. We're going through some old NBA players. We're having a little bit of fun with some old NBA talk here on the Alamo City Podcast Network. Just search for them on YouTube, subscribe, like, and share this video. You know, we're talking about older NBA guys. I like having talks like this from time to time. Again, real quick, prayers out to everybody in Kansas City from all of us. That's a very, very tragic situation. As more news comes in, we'll definitely be sharing it for you guys. But the thing too is, man, I'm a huge Drazen Petrovic fan, like massive Drazen Petrovic fan. I've made that very well known. Let me see. The Drew Show is there. Says I'll say he was a good team defender, not one-on-one. Cavs were a top defense in the league and run the Darty. I guess it didn't matter with Jordan. Yeah, not many things mattered with Jordan when he played. I mean, the Cavs had the unfortunate thing of being around when Jordan was just Jordan. I mean, you really couldn't play against that guy and defend him, and it just was kind of like that in the East. I mean, unless you had a team like Boston, that was kind of where you were. So I felt bad for those Cavs teams, but yeah, we're about to end the show here in a little bit. But Drazen Petrovic is a guy that people just don't know when it came to Drazen Petrovic. I mean, you think Steph Curry is, a fantastic shooter. Drazen was on a whole nother level, You got something, Derek?
Rudy, can I tell the quick story before?
Yeah.
Well, as you know, and Gio, I don't know if you know, I was when I was playing with the Nets, I had become a starter. So before I was a starter, I was playing backup at the small forward and the shooting guard spot. So then all of a sudden I get hurt. I become a starter and I hurt my back. And so I was no longer in the backcourt backing up Reggie Theus, and I moved back to just my position in the front court. So between myself and Chris Morris for that starting spot at the small forward. But when I got hurt, that's when Drazen Petrovic was brought in from the Portland Trail Blazers. So a lot of people don't know, but without me getting hurt, there's a chance Drazen might have never come to New Jersey Nets. So I just thought I'd give people a little taste, a little history.
Wow.
There you go, man. History right there.
Also, I thought about Derek Coleman, the lefty. He was another good player as well.
Yeah, well, we're both from Detroit. I know DC since he was in ninth grade. So to be able to play with him, even for the short period of time I played, was nothing short of a blessing.
Oh, yeah, man. And that's the thing is that's what we do here. We're going to talk a lot about NBA history from time to time because, honestly, we don't even scratch the surface when it comes to reliving the 80s and 90s. There's so many stories. There's so many great players that a lot of people don't really talk about that we love to talk about. But this is Sweep the League. Hey, Sweep the League comes to you Monday through Friday from 2 to 3:30 every single day. Remember, go to YouTube, search Alamo City Podcast Network, hit that subscribe button, like, share. We're going to give away some stuff. We've got Burger Boy gift cards for you local guys. We've got Lids gift cards that we're going to give away. We got to hit that 1K on the subscribe list. Once we hit 1K, we'll get a lucky subscriber. You'll get something from us here at Sweep the League. Again, join us Monday through Friday, 2 to 3:30 p.m. Unfortunately, our time today has been up, but hey, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. It is Wednesday. We made it through half the week. You got 2 more days with us. Tomorrow, we're hoping that Jeff Garcia does come back or does come on the show with us tomorrow so we can talk more Spurs basketball. We'll get you his dream team lineup going into next season. I believe Tim Gonzalez was the one asking that. But for everybody else, Derek Gervin, for The Rock, who couldn't make it today, he might be back on tomorrow. You'll be seeing me and Gio again. Derek, I believe you're coming back on Friday, I believe, for the Friday edition. You're going to end the week with us 3 right here. So for Gio, for Derek, this is Rudy Campos Jr. Until we sweep the league again next time, see you later, Knuckleheads.